Hello, this is Rebecca Simon. On behalf of the Syrian Celebrities and Cinema Production, I welcome all our viewers. Our guest today is Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, who is the Assemblyman for California's 6th District, and he's also a former California gubernatorial candidate during the Governor Newsom's recall election. Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, welcome to our program, and thank you again for agreeing to sit down and talk to us. We're looking forward to our discussion about California issues. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, Rebecca.
In these fiercely partisan times in our country, and with so much division politically, especially in our state, there are some issues that are nonpartisan. And one of those issues is crime. There have been grab and goes and a lot of other crimes that are happening in California and are on the increase. Are you aware of any moves in the state houses to remedy these crime waves?
Well, I'm trying to do that myself by rolling back these terrible laws that have essentially allowed this criminal activity to go on unpunished. So Proposition 47, for example, made it so you could, steal up to $950 at a time and not face any real penalty for it. So I'm introducing legislation to try to get rid of that law so we can start actually, arresting and bringing justice to people who are wreaking havoc on our communities.
Do you know if there is any appetite on the other side, on the Democratic side of the aisle, to approve or vote for your bill?
Well, I think there is more than ever because, people are seeing just how disastrous this is. And, they see their constituents feeling unsafe in their own communities. I mean, even the mayor of San Francisco, London Breed, held a big press conference yesterday saying that the reign of criminals is over. And so if ever there was a moment for bipartisan, legislation to actually put public safety first again, this is it.
Yes, we all heard the mayor's message and we were all shocked because it's a reversal of what they believe, defund the police and let criminals roam the streets. So it was a very a nice message that we heard from the mayor. I hope she keeps her words and she's tough on crime, as the residents of San Francisco are really living in fear. Now that brings me to the Proposition 47. You mentioned that the side issue that I have had an issue with the proposition's wording is that a lot of times, even you could be well versed in politics and you read the proposition wording, they're confusing. They don't really mean what the proposition is all about. Who writes these propositions and does the wordings?
Well, you're exactly right about that. It's the Attorney General of California, who's an elected politician, who does that. In fact, Kamala Harris was a grave offender when she was our Attorney General. She would do this very often, as have her successors, which is to just totally twist around the words of the proposition. So when people look at it on the ballot, they don't really know what they're voting for. And that's how they've managed to get a lot of these terrible initiatives through. And when there's a good initiative proposed, they use the same trick to make sure that it's defeated.
It is really, it's an English matter, but use the right English explaining what the proposition is all about. A lot of people get confused, even myself. I read a little and I know a little about the issues, and I still have a hard time deciding what the explanation of the proposition is. So I just wanted to ask you and get that out of the way. You and Assemblyman Gallagher sued Governor Newsom in courts, and you won the first round, and then the appellate court just stopped you from stripping Governor Newsom of his emergency powers, executive powers. How is that going to go away? I mean, almost 2 years into this pandemic, with cases in decline and deaths in decline, when is the governor going to give up his emergency powers?
Well, that's a great question. He should have given them up a long time ago. I mean, if you look at what the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, just said, he's a Democrat. The Democrat governor of Colorado, he said that the emergency is over. And this is the consensus of basically everyone, that the virus is endemic. It's going to be with us. We can't just continue to have, a one-man rule indefinitely. And yet, Gavin Newsom has shown no willingness to surrender those powers. So there's three ways the state of emergency can end. Either the governor could declare it at an end, the legislature can do so, or the court can come in and say that the emergency has to end. Obviously, the governor is unwilling to surrender his own powers. The legislature, I've introduced a resolution to terminate the emergency several times, but the legislature has been unwilling to even vote on it. And the state courts in California have, by and large, refused to get involved, have really abdicated their responsibility in a lot of ways. So, it may take really just the people of our state demanding new leadership for this thing to resume some semblance of sanity.
Why isn't there a willingness on the part of the majority legislators in California to end Newsom's emergency powers? Do you know why? Why they wouldn't want to end this?
Well, I think that's a good question, and frankly, I just think that there's not the sense of responsibility that there needs to be on the part of the leaders of the legislature, the majority. They've been perfectly happy just to, abdicate their responsibility, their authority, to put everything in the hands of the governor, to let him figure it out, and then to kind of just take it easy, or to, focus on pet issues that they want to pass to get to make special interests happy. And so, the lack of leadership has really just been striking. I've asked, there hasn't even been a vote on whether to end the emergency. I've asked for there to at least be a vote. And those who hold the power in our legislature have refused to even do that.
I am an avid reader of your blogs. I think you update us very well on what's happening, your opinions, your solutions, and I really look forward to your blogs. In one of your blogs, you talked about Governor Newsom walking back on his vaccine mandates for students. Now, first of all, by students, are college students also included, or this is high school and below?
Well, the college students were already required. That mandate has existed even before Newsom did this. But his new mandate that he announced on October 1st, that is for K through 12 students in both public and private school.
So by walking back, they say that California students, high school and below, 12 and above, 12 years and above, are 86.5% vaccinated already. And so they say, okay, maybe we'll pause the mandate, but it looks like the students who are not vaccinated will not be able to attend school in person. And until fall of 2022, they have to go online. Is that true?
Well, that's what they're trying to say, but actually, the larger districts like Los Angeles Unified, that's what they were saying, but now they've been forced to backtrack. They've officially delayed it and said that, okay, we'll give you till fall of 2022, because they had 34,000 students who were they're going to force to drop out of school, basically, and go to independent study. And so finally the district caved, and a couple other districts at least have done that as well. And now Newsom himself is, starting to realize that he's gotten more than he bargained for with this mandate, which no other state has done. California is the only state in the nation right now that has a K through 12 student vaccine mandate. And you're seeing an incredible level of opposition on the part of parents across this state who rightly believe that this is their decision to make. It's not for the governor to make on behalf of millions of families.
Parents are really very much determined to fight this. I have spoken to many parents who say they'll pull out their kids, they'll homeschool. Even parents who are vaccinated themselves, many of them are against vaccinating their children. And maybe Governor Newsom has had an earful from the concerned parents who want to make decisions on their parents. And there was a case in California when the school vaccinated a child and bribed the child by pizza. So they won't tell their parents, but the parents found out, and it's a big case now. And I hope that the parent will sue the school so they will not have to go around the parents and vaccinating our kids. And also there was a big study in Japan that people, young people, especially in their 20s, are 40 times at a higher risk of death than dying from the Wuhan virus. And parents see these studies. They are very attuned now to what's happening in their schools, and they're deciding for their own kids, which we're very happy about that. Also, Governor Newsom's mask mandate started on Monday for about a month until January 15th. But we just heard that there is an exception to the mask mandate. San Francisco County and 3 other counties are exempt in using mask mandates indoors if the occupants are fully vaccinated. Why should we have a uniform law for everyone? Why should we have exception this and exception that?
Yeah, isn't that convenient? And it's the governor's home county or city, by the way, that gets the exception. Honestly, if there's going to be exceptions, then that's just an argument for allowing every area to make their own decision. It shouldn't be up to the governor to pick and choose favorites as to who gets to be exempt from the mask mandate and who doesn't. There shouldn't be a mask mandate. There's no justification for it. And yet the governor decided just to impose this on every single part of the state, all 40 million Californians, except for these few that he's now decided are worthy of not having it. It's just complete nonsense. Another example of this governor's unprecedented abuses of power.
And by his edict, excluding those 3 counties from mask mandates, he's kind of admitting that masks, number one, don't work, and we all need to breathe fresh air. There are many studies that saying masks are harmful to people, especially children. So at least 4 counties can breathe. That's really nice.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, another nonpartisan issue that's facing California is the homeless population. It is estimated that about 150,000 homeless people live on California streets. What is you ran for governor, and I wish you had won. What would be your solution to combat homelessness, which is a combination of mental illness, drug abuse, and sometimes those two are intertwined, and maybe some other issues on a smaller scale? What would be your solution?
Well, we just cannot have people living and dying on our streets and languishing there and causing our communities to deteriorate. It's a problem that has grown so large in California, far beyond what exists in any other state. And it's because of failed policies. And we keep throwing more and more money at the problem. It's not doing any good. So I would make sure that we have shelters available where everyone can be sent, away from where people live. And then once they're there, you got to have the services to address the problems that you talked about, whether that's drug addiction, whether it's, mental health counseling, whether it's job training, and making sure that you give people the tools that have been proven to be helpful in getting people to transition out of homelessness. But this governor has had no strategy, no solutions. He's always just said more money, or lately his big solution is let's throw people in hotel rooms. But there's no evidence that that's been shown to work, and the problem has only continued to get worse.
Yeah, we've heard that in hotel rooms, they have room service. Drugs and alcohol are being served to them.
Mm,
And that is no way of combating drug addiction and homelessness. And there must be a resolute leadership to
mm.
combat this. It's a huge problem, and we don't see signs of it decreasing.
No, absolutely not. And it's right now, I believe California has 9 times the unsheltered homeless population of the next closest state. You've seen homelessness go down across the country. It's continued to go up here, even though we spend billions and billions more dollars. It's just a very striking example of our state government's just total failure.
Yeah, we drive on the freeways, we see in the overpasses, the encampments, even on San Vicente Boulevard in Los Angeles, one of the nicest streets, homeless encampments. And downtown LA has changed. It's homeless encampment everywhere, actually, along the roads. You see homeless encampments, and my heart goes out to them because a lot of them are
Yes,
mentally ill. Nobody wants to live on the streets. These people are just, they don't know they're living on the streets because they're mentally ill. They're addicted to drugs. And I think if our leadership isn't handling this really important issues, they have no compassion for these ill people,
that's
and
right.
it really breaks everyone's heart. And then crime and hygiene is another issue. Now, speaking of streets, this is my own beef with the state. I've been in the state for 46 years. When we used to drive on our freeways and our streets, everything was smooth. We had smooth
Mm,
driving. But now, all of our streets are patchy. There are
yes.
bumps along the road everywhere. And why is that? Is there, are you aware of the way they're changing and paving the streets? They are just, it's like always bumps everywhere you drive, Kevin Kiley. Why is this happening?
Well, you're absolutely right. We have just about the worst roads in the country. Part of the problem is that even though we keep raising the taxes and have the highest gas taxes in the entire country, the money has continually been diverted and doesn't actually get spent on roads. And then the other part of the problem is that even when it gets spent on roads, it's spent incredibly inefficiency. Like it costs us 4 times as much to build a mile of road as it does in many other states. And so that again, it's kind of like with homelessness. We're just dumping more and more money into the situation and getting worse and worse results. And that's kind of the moral of the story when it comes to life in California is we sacrifice the most and we get the least in return.
So very true. And, we had $100 billion bullet train that is going to nowhere. It's part of that money could have been spent on roads and more wisely. What is happening with our bullet train?
Pretty much nothing. As you said, it's a train to nowhere. The cost continues to go up. It continues to be delayed. They said they're going to scale it back, but then now they're saying they want to build the whole thing. The price tag is maybe around $100 billion right now, and if this thing ever gets built, the technology is going to be long outdated. And so the fact that we continue to throw billions and billions of dollars year after year after this, it's just become it would be a joke if it weren't, at such a great cost to so many people in our state.
Well, with the cost of material skyrocketing, it's going to probably cost even more
That's a great
to
point.
build it.
Absolutely.
And so is it really on hold because everybody's so quiet about it? Or maybe is it because we're facing so many other crises
You're
that
right.
this
There's
is
so many
like,
things, right? You kind of almost forget about it, but yes, it's continuing. I mean, the money is continuing to be spent. There's not a lot of to show for it, but it continues to be a huge spending item that the legislature appropriates money for every single year.
Kevin Kiley, I'm going to ask a question and I'm going there. Maybe I shouldn't, but I will because it's on my mind. Governor Newsom got his booster shot. He was on the video saying, yes, I got the booster shot. And then, boom, he disappears for 13 days and then he goes on a vacation. Now, in some courts, people are gossiping, talking, and saying that the governor has had adverse reaction to the vaccine. They're saying that he has Guillain-Barré, which is a neurological disorder that some people who have had the vaccine have had it. What do you think of this rumor?
Well, I don't know anything about that, but the idea that the governor would, fall off the map for, close to 2 weeks when he claims to be, we're in a state of emergency and he gets to make all of the decisions, all the powers of the state are in his hands, and then he goes on a vacation to Cabo, and then he goes on a book tour. It just serves to underline what a complete farce this state of emergency is. And so I've said that, at the point at which the governor vacations in Cabo and disappears for weeks at a time, and goes on a book tour, that's when we know the state of emergency is over. But he said recently, we'll know the emergency is over. We'll know it when we experience it, is what he said. I think we have all experienced that this state of emergency is over and it's time to return to sanity.
I agree. And I think when he says when we know it's over, he really means it's over when I say so. And so
Right.
why would he give it up? Um, Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, we often talk about liberals in the state not doing their job, and rightly so. But I'd like to kind of look within, look at our own California GOP. Do you think that we need to be a little more proactive as California Republican Party and change our messaging so we can kind of tell Californians to connect the dot? If they're suffering from crime, if they're suffering from rogue district attorneys such as Gascon and Boudin, that it is because of the way they vote. Do you think that we have a messaging problem on our side?
Well, I prefer to see it as a messaging opportunity because we have so much that's gone wrong and quality of life continues to decline. That if we could really just have a very clear message focused on improving the quality of life for people in California by addressing homelessness, by addressing crime, by addressing the cost of living, by addressing the quality of our roads and our other infrastructure, by making the state more affordable, by making public education halfway decent, then I think that's a message that would resonate with a lot of people, whatever their party affiliation might be. And I think that in this coming election cycle, 2022, this is as good of an opportunity to do that as we've ever had.
I agree with you. We have great messaging if we know how to say it, but how do we get that to the voter, and how do we have this microphone so that the voters listen to what we have to say? Because right now the voters don't hear from us.
Right.
I don't know what it is about the California Republican Party, and I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying what it is about them that nobody hears their voice. They're so quiet. It's like they're not even here. I think they need to get out there, get out to various districts and have events and really loudly talk about what's wrong, and allow people to connect the dots. Because some people don't connect the dots, that their voting is directly related to crime, to Proposition 47, to a lot of other homelessness, a lot of other problems we have.
I agree with you 100%. And we need to find a way to make that message louder and clearer and to really reach people. And, I think that is the challenge that we face, is how do we cut through all of the disinformation put out by the other side, all the money they spend, the control they have over large parts of the media in order to reach voters. And I think that we're finding ways to do that, but we need to do it a lot more.
Because, yeah, I really do believe that messaging is very important. And I do believe that if people don't have time to read, find out the news on their own, um, a lot of them have to be told what is going on in California. And if we find a way of having people hear our voices, they might vote differently. They might say, oh,
Hmm.
like the education and CRT issue. Once parents during the pandemic found out what's going on in the classrooms, they started being activists and making changes. And that should happen in other areas as well. And I just hope that the California Republican Party finds a way of having a megaphone and allowing citizens to hear the issues from our side.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope that happens. Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, you're a young man, a bright future ahead of you. What does the future hold for you? What are you planning on doing?
Well, I really appreciate that, and I've really been inspired to see a ton of people get involved in politics for the first time over this last year or so, and I have high hopes for the next year. And right now, I'm actually trying to kind of figure out what my role is. How can I best help to propel this movement forward, to bring change to our state, to our country, to fight for the values that are important to us and for the quality of life of people in our communities. So, I'm thinking that through now. I'm talking to a lot of people, getting feedback from people, and would certainly appreciate the chance to hear from you as well.
Um, is there anything you would like to say? Any important issues that are in the works? Any bills we need to pay attention to? Anything you'd like to discuss as we're ending our conversation?
Well, gosh, there's so many things, but I think you hit on a lot of the really important issues that are front and center right now. And I think that this next year is going to be a very exciting one for Republicans in California, for people who have just of basic sanity and decency in California. As you mentioned, I have a blog that you can check out. It's on the QR code there, or you can just Google my name, Kevin Kiley blog. It'll come right up, and I'll certainly keep you informed as these things move forward.
Your blogs are wonderful. I'd like to compliment you. They are brief enough to be able to read, yet they are of great substance. So, with brevity and substance, anyone can read through them and find out what's happening in our state. Again, please point your cameras, your cell phone cameras, on the QR and go right to Kevin Kiley's website. And I will say it, you're not saying it, that any help is appreciated so we can have Assembly Kevin Kiley run again successfully and represent us and our ideology and fight for California with wisdom and in the right way. Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, thank you again for joining us on this day. We are looking forward to talking to you again on updates that are facing, on issues that are facing our state. Best wishes to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll look forward to it, Rebecca.
Good day. Thank you very much, our viewers, for watching the interview with Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. He loves California. He is a native of California, was born in the 6th District, and he fights very hard. He's a courageous man who is not afraid of fighting for us and of telling the truth. He is working for us, and actually he's one of, maybe the only one of very few who does not accept any paychecks from state of California for his expenses. That is commendable. Thank you very much for your time. Good day.